Hey everybody, I am so excited for this video because what I'm about to tell you has genuinely changed the trajectory of my career. It has added rocket fuel in a way that I never ever could have imagined. And it starts by addressing something that I think everyone knows that they should do or should be thinking about, but then there's like a mental block where we don't know what to do. I am talking about mentors. Finding great ones, connecting with them, building a relationship with them, and really getting the value that you want out of that situation and that relationship to really take things further. Now, I got to make a confession. I am, by my very nature, a real do it yourselfer kind of guy. I love figuring things out, and my go to if I'm faced with a problem or a situation is let me jump on the internet or let me do something like that and figure it out, and I'm just gonna, bootstrap it and get it done. And I spent huge parts of my life working just like that. I started working for my business. It began out of my basement, in one room where I was doing everything. If I had to put up a website, I was the one who was doing that. I had to learn WordPress and learn how to do that and get it out there. If I had to learn how to write resumes, I had to learn that. And I took courses and I worked with colleagues and all of that to make it happen. If I had to do interview coaching, whatever it was, my go-to was, Anish, you just figure it out yourself. You sit in your room and you just figure it out. And it took me many years before I had this realization. I believe what happened was I had a website of mine fall apart, and I was on the phone with customer service at my hosting company and just freaking out about it. And I'm not a tech guy, I'm not an IT guy. And my wife saw me in this state, extremely upset, frustrated. My whole day was shot, and possibly most of my week because of handling this problem. And she waited until I got off the phone, and in her gentle yet firm way, she said, Anish, why are you doing this? You're not an IT person. This is not your game. So why are you wasting time doing this? Don't you think your time would be spent on something more productive, something that is geared towards the future? And that sunk in after a while. At first, I was very resistant to it. And her point sunk in that, yes, I should delegate. But then the larger point came about, which is, okay, if I'm not spending my time putting out these fires, if I'm not spending my time dealing with the minutia and running on the hamster wheel, then what do I want? What's the ultimate goal here? What's my game plan? And I realized that I didn't really have those answers. And it was that moment of realization that really started me down the path towards finding the first of what became many mentors in my life. I realized that I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't find these answers to myself. And I wasn't willing to entrust my entire future just based on the fact, which is really ego, that, hey, I can just figure this out myself. I've got this. I don't. And I would venture to say that you also don't have it all figured out. You don't have all the answers. No matter how much of a brainiac you think you are in your career, you just don't have the perspective. So that was what really kind of, drew me towards finding people who could help me in that way. Now, here's the thing. If you think that mentors are only for a certain type of people, understand this. In a recent study, 80% of CEOs polled have stated that they have had mentors. 80%. And these are the people who are at the highest of the high. They're regularly working with mentors. Steve Jobs had Robert Friedland. He was a major mentor in his life. Bill Gates had Dr. Ed Roberts. Tiger Woods had his dad and took advice from people like Arnold Palmer. The highest performers in any industry, the secret sauce that is powering them is their ability to learn and listen from people who are further down and who can help them along the way. So please know that no matter where you are, whether you're just beginning, whether you're at a mid-management stage, whether you're at the executive stage, finding a strategy and a game plan for bringing amazing mentors into your life and then having a plan to know how to progress that and to get that value out of that relationship is so key. It is such an important part of the puzzle. So let me just quickly go through a few of the major reasons why, okay? Number one, someone that's going to listen to you. And I know that sounds obvious, but think about your regular workday. You're executing, chances are, right? You're working, you're delegating, you're doing whatever it is that you got to do. How much time is spent sharing the stories or reflecting on what you've done? How much time is spent sort of doing a post-mortem on the major activities that you've done over the last couple of months to say, hey, how much of this am I learning? How much of this is feeding into my future? And how much is not? So a mentor, a big reason that you need one is that you have someone who can listen and can offer advice and be that person to sort of bounce those things off of and have that moment of reflection. It is the natural balance to doing things is that reflection piece, and it does get shunted really off to the side for most people in most of our working lives. Reason number two, war stories. The big misconception people have about mentors is that here's a teacher who's going to say, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. That's not what a good mentor does. I want you to think back to the last time you had a really amazing conversation with someone, a conversation that was largely based on them telling you stories from their life, telling you things that worked for them, that didn't. And if you've had that conversation, you'll know that you've left those meetings or those situations feeling charged and actually feeling like you've learned a lot. The best way to learn is through hearing the stories of others. That is the best way. And that is what a mentor can do, is simply sit you down and say, let me tell you a story about a situation that your situation reminds me of. And he's gonna explain, or she's gonna explain, and you're gonna have that wonderful, back and forth that comes during storytelling, and you're gonna find answers and insights that are totally out of left field that you never, ever could have imagined. That is turbo shot boosting your ambitions and where you want to go next, because again, it's bringing in insights from somewhere else. The other one is keeping you focused. How often have you had this experience of going through a workday and you knew there was that one thing that you had to do, that important thing, and you pushed it off, and a month goes and you pushed it off? Well, the good thing about having a mentor is someone who's plugged into what you're doing can bring the attention back and say, hey, why didn't you do it? Let's study why the thing that you knew was important, not just urgent, why did the important thing get pushed off? And so having someone who can reframe that and refocus where you are and what you want to do and pushing you towards those strategic steps that are going to get you to that next spot, priceless. And then the other one too is when you're confused, when you're depressed, when you're lost, and we all are going to hit those moments if you're not there already, you need someone who's going to hold you by the hand a little bit and say, this is your real value. This is your purpose. This is your mission. You can't give up on it. You can't lose track on it. You can't get distracted on it. And in those moments, a good mentor is going to give you just that right push that you need. It is a priceless thing. So now that we've gone over some of the major reasons why, it's such a wonderful thing. And by the way, let me just add here, a great mentor doesn't necessarily have to be a golden god of your industry. Some of the best mentors I've had and continue to have are other coaches and experts in my field who are just one or two steps further along than I am. They're doing variations of what I do in their own way, but they maybe have a slightly bigger audience, or their media presence is slightly bigger, or they're working on a one-to-one webinar series or something like that that is really cool and really inspiring, and I want to learn from. Trading stories with them, who are people who are just a little bit further along the path, is just as relevant as working and being mentored by someone who is hugely prominent in your field. So just know that, it's not a gradation thing. You'll get value no matter what. So really quick, some major sources of mentors: family and friends. That one is obvious. For that one, if you got to think longer than 10 seconds, you don't have someone in your family and friend network who can be a mentor. This one, it should be really obvious. If you've got one in there, it's going to be top of your mind. So that should be an easy place to go to. Colleagues, bosses, your extended network. There's an amazing boss that you have worked with, someone who is more of a guide and a developer than someone who is running roughshod over you, obviously. That's someone that you definitely want to reinitiate a contact with. Get the communication going first. Local professional organizations, industry organizations, trade organizations. Those are all good places to sort of get in and forge a connection with a potential mentor. And the bonus for those things is as you join those types of organizations, you're going to get more credibility. So it really is a win-win to be approaching it in that way. And finally, social media. That really bears mentioning that LinkedIn, and to a lesser extent, places like Twitter, those can all be good ways to initiate dialogue with someone. And you would be amazed at how many mentoring relationships happen when someone just takes the time to learn about someone that they respect, that they admire, honestly initiates a conversation with them, gets them on the phone, talks a little bit more, and you're going to be amazed at how many times people have been mentored by superstars that they have no direct connection with, simply because they followed that approach. So it does bear mentioning. I wouldn't focus on social media before any of the other areas that we're talking about, but it is something that you don't want to discount entirely. Here's the last part I want to talk about. And this is, how do you sort of approach them, and earn their respect and develop this relationship? Well, step one, okay, do your research. This isn't about you. For me, it's not about me. It's about learning about them. So if you have a potential mentor in mind, learn everything that you can about them. Get as stalkery as you want to be in terms of figuring out what have they done in their work, what career highlights do they have, what personal interests do they have, what kind of other interests do they have, what's their social media presence, how do they engage with people. Just really develop a file on your computer of research into this person. Learn as much as you can, because curiosity really comes from a place of knowledge. The more you know about a person, the more curious you're going to be about saying, hey, I got to ask him about this, or I got to ask her about how she was able to accomplish this or navigate this really difficult moment in her life. So gather that knowledge base first, do your research. Then when you're reaching out and, you're just starting that, always explain why. It's not a secret to be looking for a mentor. It's tremendously gratifying. One of the banner moments in my life has always been when someone who is in my industry, but further down a little bit or just starting out, takes the time to reach out to me and explains that they're looking for a mentor and why they reached out to me and whether I'd be willing to help them and guide them. It's tremendously gratifying. It is tremendously ego affirming to sort of have that. So don't hide that. If you are reaching out to someone who you're not directly connected with, a referral is always a wonderful way, because when you're initiating the dialogue, you can talk a little bit about the person you know in common, and that's an easy way to do it. Or if you explain something that you found in your research that really struck a chord with you and resonates, or just thank them for the work that they're doing. These are all good ways to just do that. And then move it into sharing your intentions and your desire to help. Generally speaking, you don't want to do that until you have them on the phone. You don't want to initiate a mentorship relationship until they have heard your voice, they have connected with you as a real human being, and there's that back and forth, that rapport going, which is so crucial. But if you're doing that, let them know. Let them know that you're looking for help. Let them know what your goals are. Discuss your goals and what you want to work on. And for that one, I hope that you have taken the time to, before ever reaching out to a mentor, to have created a bit of a plan for yourself in terms of, where do I see myself 1 year, 5 years, and most crucially, what's my vision for ending up? So at the end of my professional life, where do I want to end up? You should have some thoughts there. Doesn't mean you got to stick to it. Doesn't mean that it's a Bible that you got to stick to for the rest of your life, but you got to have some kind of compass. You got to be steering the ship somewhere. So know that when it's right, share that plan, share your goals, let them know. And here's the secret hack here, okay? What is going to win mentors to your cause more than anything else is, once you get to that stage, showing them that you are actively moving forward towards those goals. In other words, what kind of training are you doing? What kind of learning are you doing? Who are you meeting? What kind of actions are you taking to transform your daily life and your weekly life in line with your goals and who you want to ultimately be? When someone who wants to be a mentee of mine reaches out to me, that is what I'm looking for always. Is this person just looking for a handout? In other words, is this person mentally lazy and is just looking for a shortcut where, connecting with me, they can just pump me for as much information and then essentially just replicate it? That's fine. I'm not judging, but I'm saying that's not really much of an appeal for me to mentor someone. However, if they're reaching out to me for the deeper drivers, if they connect with me as a human being, as an individual, if they have done the research and they've got a game plan for where they want to go, and I see that they're taking action no matter what, that to me is always going to be a powerful deciding factor in terms of whether or not I work with them, because that's hustle, that's ambition, and that shows me that you're not going to be stopped no matter what. So do that. By the time you get to the point of explaining what your game plan is and what you hope to accomplish, be doing something, even if it's pulling up Udemy or LinkedIn Learning and taking one course. Anyone can do that. You can find time to do that right now. But take some action. Have a plan to give to this person to show them that so that they can plug in. Because otherwise, it's so general that there's not much we can do aside from just shooting the breeze. You got to have a plan. Finally, last thing I'm going to say. If you're initiating a mentorship relationship, you've got this going, you got to make sure that you guys are connecting on a regular basis. Once a month is fine. If it's productive, that is fine. But it has to be regular. If it's inconsistent, there's no way that you're going to be able to make regular progress towards your career goals and keep that going. So whatever it is, whatever that mentoring relationship is between the two of you, it's got to be regular and it's got to be consistent, and you got to stick to it. Do this. Follow this game plan. Your career will never, ever, ever be the same. You are going to be at a totally, totally different level, way faster than you ever could have imagined. It is the shortcut. And the shortcut results in respecting, learning from, and being guided by people who have fought the battles that you're going to fight. I hope that this has been a big help to you. I do encourage you to visit upgradeyourjob.com, where you'll get instant access to my 6-point checklist for landing a 6-figure job. And I hope to talk to you very soon.